there are secrets hidden in the pages of the Bible that few dare to uncover. Stories as old as time itself, stories that whisper profound truths, but that, for some reason, were left aside. Imagine a book. A book so powerful that it was excluded from the traditional Bible. A book that narrates celestial battles, encounters with divine beings, and, above all, the story of a man who never experienced death. That man was Enoch. But why was this book banned? What does it reveal that is so disturbing that it was banned from the sacred texts? What do the churches not tell us about it? Get ready, because in this video, we will explore mysteries that can change your view of the spiritual world forever. Have you ever wondered what mysteries even the greatest scholars avoid discussing? What secrets remain hidden in the confines of time and faith? The journey begins here. And once you enter, the revelations that will come to light may forever change the way you see the unseen world around us. Are you ready for this? Today, we will delve deep into one of the most hidden stories in Christian tradition, an account that was excluded from Scripture and silenced for centuries. The Book of Enoch. Hidden in the shadows of time, it brings to light truths about the fallen angels, those beings who descended to earth, defying divine orders, and unleashed events that still resonate today. What was it about this book that bothered the church so much that it was banned? What does it reveal about the spiritual world and the invisible forces that act around us? We will explore the rise and fall of Lucifer, the origins of the Nephilim, hybrid beings between men and angels, and the remarkable trajectory of Enoch, who walked with God and, unlike any other man, never experienced death. Throughout this video, you'll discover how these forgotten stories can shed new light on the world you know. We'll explore the connections between the spiritual and the physical, and uncover secrets that have long been locked away deep in history. Prepare for surprising answers that will challenge everything you thought you knew about the battle between good and evil. What really happened in Lucifer's fall? What is the true origin of the Nephilim? And why was Enoch chosen to live such a unique journey? Each of these questions will be explored as we continue to unravel the mysteries hidden in this forbidden book. The story of Enoch is deeply intertwined with the scriptures we know, but the Book of Enoch reveals details that few people have been privy to. In the book of Genesis, we are briefly introduced to Enoch, a man who walked with God and was not found, for God took him. But what does this really mean? Who was Enoch? Why was he chosen for such a unique journey? Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel 28 offer us glimpses into the fall of Lucifer, the once most beautiful and powerful archangel who, for his rebellion, was cast down from heaven. These verses show us a being overcome by pride, who desired to elevate himself above God, but was precipitated into his own destruction. However, the Book of Enoch goes beyond these passages, describing not only the fall of Lucifer, but also that of a group of angels who rebelled and descended to earth, forever altering the destiny of humanity. And here is where the mystery deepens. Lucifer and these fallen angels interfered in the physical world, mingling with humans and giving rise to the Nephilim, giant and powerful beings who, according to the Book of Enoch, wreaked havoc and destruction on earth. But why is this story so often omitted from traditional biblical interpretations? Scripture offers clues, but the Book of Enoch reveals the full picture. Enoch, the only human to be taken directly to heaven, witnessed events that defy imagination. He witnessed the heavenly battle, met the fallen angels, and most importantly, was chosen by God to be the messenger of a hidden truth, a truth that exposes the origins of the evil forces that still influence the world today. While these stories may seem like they belong to the distant past, their implications are eternal, and what we see next may completely change your understanding of the unseen forces that shape the reality around us. few people know that the Book of Enoch contains revelations that go beyond the simple account of the fall of the angels. It describes a cosmic conflict between heaven and earth, a spiritual battle that echoes to this day. The first major revelation is that the fall of Lucifer and the rebellious angels involved more than just pride and rebellion. According to these ancient texts, these angels not only turned away from God, but also took an active role in the corruption of humanity. These fallen angels, led by a being named Semyaza, came down to earth, mingled with humans, and taught forbidden secrets. They revealed knowledge of magic, astrology, and even the use of metals to forge weapons. This shocking revelation explains how humanity was given advanced knowledge and, at the same time, was led down a path of destruction and sin. The Book of Enoch describes these angels as the Watchers, who were initially tasked with watching over the earth but instead succumbed to temptation and lust. They mated with the daughters of men, giving birth to the Nephilim, giants of enormous power who quickly overwhelmed the earth with violence and chaos. These half-angel, half-human beings ushered in a new age of darkness, an age that God eventually had to destroy with the flood. This revelation suggests that human corruption was not only the result of original sin, but also a direct consequence of the influence of these fallen angels. Their actions not only changed the course of humanity, but also triggered a spiritual battle that continues to this day, unseen but intense. And here is where the question becomes even more disturbing. What else did these Watchers reveal to men? What secrets were hidden over the centuries? And how do these spiritual forces continue to influence us in the 21st century? The answers lie hidden within the pages of this forbidden book, and what we have discovered so far is only the beginning. As we progress through the pages of the Book of Enoch, the mystery deepens even more. The Watchers, these angels who fell from grace, not only brought forbidden knowledge to humans, but also set in motion a chain of events that echoes to this day. According to the text, the Nephilim, these powerful giants, the fruit of the union between angels and humans, quickly became the rulers of the earth. Their presence was marked by tyranny, violence, and an insatiable thirst for power. These giants dominated not only physically, but also spiritually. Their influence corrupted everything around them, leading men to worship false gods and indulge in dark practices that threatened to destroy humanity altogether. The earth became a spiritual battlefield, where the forces of good and evil fought for the fate of creation. The Book of Enoch describes how these Nephilim, with their superhuman power, enslaved ancient civilizations, subjugating entire peoples with brute force and hidden knowledge that only the fallen angels could have taught. But the destruction they brought was not just physical, it was a spiritual destruction, a corruption of the human soul. The influence of these beings was not limited to the past. The book suggests that their actions created a dark legacy that resonates to this day. Enoch warns us of the continuing presence of these spiritual forces, hinting that the Nephilim and their descendants may still be among us, unseen, manipulating events, cultures, and even thoughts. And the question that now arises is inevitable: do these ancient forces still operate in the shadows, shaping our world today? If the Nephilim were destroyed by the flood, has their influence truly ceased, or are we still pawns in a spiritual game far greater than we can imagine? As we delve deeper into the Book of Enoch, we realize that the spiritual world is far more vast and intricate than we ever imagined, and the battles that began millennia ago still affect each of us today. But what most people don't realize is that Lucifer's true power was not destroyed by his fall. In fact, the Book of Enoch suggests that although he was cast out of heaven, his influence and ambition continue to expand, in ever more subtle and dangerous ways. Lucifer's fall was only the beginning of his battle against good, a strategic move that paved the way for a spiritual war that is still ongoing. Lucifer, known as the bearer of light before his fall, did not completely lose his power. On the contrary, he adapted, reorganized his forces and influence, and began working in the shadows, manipulating events, people, and entire nations. Through the Watchers and the Nephilim, he laid the foundations for a silent spiritual domination, a network of power and corruption that spread across the earth. The twist here is that while many believe that evil is a force that can be defeated in a single battle, the Book of Enoch shows us that the true power of evil lies in its persistence, its ability to reinvent itself and influence the world in ways that are imperceptible. Lucifer has not disappeared. He has hidden himself in the depths of human minds, in everyday temptations, in invisible power structures. This revelation challenges the common narrative that many of us grew up hearing, that evil has been defeated and that we now live in a world where light prevails. But what if evil was never truly destroyed, only changed form? What if Lucifer and his followers continue to operate among us, through the institutions we believe to be safe, through the ideas we accept without question? The Book of Enoch alerts us to this disconcerting truth: the battle is never over. What we are facing now is a war that is being waged on the spiritual plane, a war that demands not only faith, but discernment, courage, and constant vigilance. Because the enemy we are facing is much more cunning than we imagine. He is no longer in the shadows, he is among us, influencing our lives in ways we never realized. And here, in the forgotten and neglected pages of the Book of Enoch, we find biblical testimonies that reinforce this disturbing revelation. Passages that, for centuries, were ignored or underestimated, hiding profound truths that few dared to investigate. The book speaks of angels who watched the earth, not with the eyes of protection, but with the desire to intervene, to alter the course of humanity. These angels, the Watchers, fell from grace when they became involved with the daughters of men, giving birth to the Nephilim. But what few know is that their actions were only the tip of the iceberg. In their interactions with humans, these celestial beings also brought knowledge that should have remained hidden. In Genesis, we find brief mentions of these figures, but it is in the Book of Enoch that the details emerge. Hidden passages that speak of the corruption of the world through forbidden knowledge. Enoch witnessed these revelations up close. He saw how the Watchers taught men the secrets of war, astrology, and magic. Knowledge that opened the doors for evil to infiltrate the hearts of humanity, leading them down a path of destruction and spiritual perdition. These ignored verses show that the rebellion of the fallen angels was not an isolated act in time, but a continuous movement of spiritual contamination. They planted seeds of discord, lust, and greed, and these seeds germinated, growing and spreading for generations, fed by the ignorance of those who did not know the depth of this conflict. And so, the question that cannot be avoided: are we, even today, unconsciously following in the footsteps that these fallen beings left for us? Could it be that the challenges we face, the temptations that surround us, are not just influences of the physical world, but echoes of an invisible battle that began millennia ago? These hidden testimonies in the Book of Enoch invite us to look beyond the obvious, to question the unseen forces that shape our decisions and lives. What these passages reveal is that the story of the fallen angels is not just an ancient legend. It continues to reverberate in our day, impacting our lives in ways we have only just begun to comprehend. And now that we have uncovered these hidden layers of knowledge, the weight of this revelation begins to sink in. We are not just talking about fallen angels or supernatural beings who inhabited the earth millennia ago. We are talking about a corruption that has spread and that, according to the Book of Enoch, remains alive and well, embedded in the very fabric of our modern world. The concept that emerges is disturbing. These invisible forces have not simply been defeated or banished. They have adapted, hidden in the shadows, and continue to manipulate the currents of human destiny. Evil, like a cunning serpent, has known how to hide in the structures of power, in the relentless pursuit of forbidden knowledge, and even in seemingly harmless human ambitions. The Book of Enoch offers us an explanation for the ongoing cycle of destruction and chaos that humanity faces. It suggests that the teachings of the Watchers, the wisdom that gave men the power to control nature, the stars, and destiny itself, were actually curses in disguise. Enoch witnessed the degradation of human purity, not only through the violence of the Nephilim, but through the subtle seduction of a knowledge that led us away from divine truth. These revelations change our perception of the role of Lucifer and the fallen angels. They are not just antagonists in a spiritual battle, they are masters of illusion, manipulating human destinies for generations while making us believe we are in control. So what does this mean for us today? How might these forces still be shaping the world we live in? The answer lies in the way we are drawn, even unconsciously, to the path the Watchers have laid out. Whether through our obsession with power, control, or the desire to overcome natural limits, these unseen influences are still at work, pulling us away from the divine and leading us into a spiral of corruption and chaos. The Book of Enoch reveals that true spiritual warfare is not an explosive and obvious war. It is a silent war, fought in everyday decisions, in subtle temptations, and in the choices we make, often without realizing the forces that guide them. Enoch leaves us with an unsettling truth: the forces that fell from the sky have not disappeared. They are still here, working in the shadows, shaping the world according to their plan, while humanity struggles to find its way back to the light. Now, in the face of these revelations, a crucial question arises: how might these invisible forces be impacting your life right now? Have you ever stopped to reflect on the choices you make every day? The decisions that seem to be yours alone. Could they be influenced by something beyond what you can see or understand? The Book of Enoch challenges us to consider that evil is not always explicit. It insinuates itself into our lives in subtle ways, in small concessions, in temptations that seem harmless but that, in fact, open the door to something much darker. Think about times when you have given into pride, greed, or the temptation to want more than you are given. These moments, though seemingly small, can be the first steps on a road that leads to deep spiritual corruption. Enoch teaches us that the fallen forces, led by Lucifer, do not attack us in obvious ways. They work in the shadows, shaping our ambitions, desires, and fears. They infiltrate our innermost thoughts, distorting what is good and righteous, and transforming our actions into something that leads us away from the divine light. Take a moment to reflect. Are there areas in your life where you feel something is not right? Where decisions seem to be more burdensome than they should be? Where negative influences seem to persist despite your best efforts? Perhaps it is time to consider that these unseen forces may be at work much closer than you imagined. In this moment of reflection, stop and think about how you can strengthen your faith and spiritual protection. The battle that Enoch witnessed is still ongoing, and we are all participants in it, whether we realize it or not. What decisions can you make today to resist these forces? How can you ensure that your choices are aligned with divine truth, and not the deceptive whisperings of those who have fallen from grace? And there is more. An even more profound revelation emerges from the pages of the Book of Enoch. One that few have dared to explore. There is a direct connection between the fallen angels and modern events that go unnoticed by most. Enoch warns us that these corrupted spiritual beings not only influence the distant past, but continue to shape events in the present. Have you ever wondered if there is a greater force behind the conflicts, disasters, and crises that seem to arise out of nowhere? The Book of Enoch suggests that these events are not merely the work of chance or human fallibility. They may, in fact, be linked to an unseen battle, a spiritual war being waged behind the scenes of our physical world. Actions that appear to be of purely human origin may be manifestations of a darker and more powerful influence. Enoch speaks of how the fallen angels, by sharing their forbidden secrets, planted seeds of destruction in the hearts of humanity, seeds that continue to flourish to this day. These spiritual forces may be orchestrating global events, manipulating leaders and nations for their own dark ends. The chaos we see around us, the senseless wars, the natural disasters that seem to defy all logic, what if all of this is being fueled by forces beyond our understanding? This new revelation forces us to look at the world differently. What appears to be just a series of unconnected events may actually be part of a larger plan, a plot that began with the fall of the angels and continues to unfold. Enoch warns us, we are living in a world where the physical and the spiritual are more intertwined than we realize, and this invisible battle is not over. It has merely changed form. These fallen angels, the Watchers, and their descendants may still be among us, influencing modern society, shaping history in ways we cannot yet imagine. The revelation is clear, the spiritual war is as alive as ever, and those who have fallen continue to move the pieces on the great chessboard of human destiny. But what does this mean for our future? What else lies ahead? And how can we be prepared for what lies ahead? For centuries, humanity has witnessed historical events that have shaped the course of civilizations, devastating wars, empires that have risen and fallen, natural disasters that have changed the fate of entire nations. These events have always been seen as part of the human struggle for power, territory, and survival. But what if all this is just the surface? What if, as the Book of Enoch suggests, these events are intimately connected with a hidden spiritual war? Imagine that, behind the scenes of great wars and revolutions, invisible forces are at work, manipulating leaders and influencing critical decisions. Enoch reveals that these fallen angels, even after their fall, maintained a continuing presence on earth. They influenced kings, dictators, and armies, steering humanity toward chaos and destruction. The book warns us that the conflicts that devastated civilizations were not just the result of human ambitions, but also reflections of spiritual battles fought between heaven and earth. Let's go back to ancient wars, such as the epic battle between the great powers of the Middle East, or even the Crusades, which shed blood in the name of faith. Could there have been a secret spiritual influence, an invisible war that was being waged simultaneously, while armies of flesh and blood fought on the battlefield? Enoch describes how fallen angels taught men the use of metal weapons, a revelation that forever changed the way wars were fought. Since then, humanity has been perfecting its techniques of destruction, while spiritual forces continue to fan the flames of these conflicts. Now consider the great wars of the last century, World Wars I and II. The level of destruction, the magnitude of suffering, the global despair, the Book of Enoch makes us wonder, were these events simply the result of human conflicts, or was there something more sinister at play? A dark spiritual influence that, since ancient times, has worked to sow mass destruction, not only in the physical but also in the spiritual realm? These parallels between historical events and spiritual battles suggest that what we see on the surface is only a fraction of the bigger picture. While nations war and borders shift, there is an unseen war that continues unabated, a struggle for the fate of the human soul, influenced by forces that operate in the shadows. What Enoch reveals to us is that the events that shaped history may have been driven by more than just human hands, but by beings who still act behind the scenes today, orchestrating the fate of the earth. Evil, as the Book of Enoch warns us, is not just an abstract or distant force. It is tangible, personified, and has a clear identity. Lucifer and the fallen angels are not just symbolic figures in an ancient cautionary tale, they have clear purposes, intentions, and goals. Enoch reveals that these beings, even after their fall, maintain an active presence on earth, influencing humanity in profound and often imperceptible ways. Think about it for a moment. Evil does not act in obvious ways, as in horror movies or in the simplistic descriptions of Scripture. It manifests itself in small decisions, in moments of doubt, in temptations that seem harmless. It is subtle, insidious. Enoch shows us that these fallen angels, even though they are far from God's grace, are masters of manipulation, infiltrating human minds, instigating conflict, envy, hatred, and greed. They move through the layers of society, institutions, spheres of power, and even family structures. The embodiment of evil is clever and cunning. Lucifer, who once shone as the most beautiful of archangels, uses his cunning to shape the destinies of nations, corrupt individuals, and distort the truth. And this influence, as Enoch reveals to us, is dangerous because it is rarely perceived. It disguises itself as progress, knowledge, and power, when in fact it is corroding the human soul from the inside out. Through the Book of Enoch, we learn that these fallen beings have not given up on their original plan. Even banished from heaven, they continue to exert their influence in the shadows, manipulating events and hearts. Their presence is not something from the distant past. They are here, now, watching, influencing, shaping decisions that have consequences for the fate of us all. This embodiment of evil forces us to reevaluate our own lives, our own choices. Enoch warns us that true evil may be closer than we imagine. It does not come with horns and tails. It presents itself in selfish desires, uncontrolled ambitions, and the ability to divert us from the divine path without us realizing it. What Enoch exposes is that we are all, in some way, facing this influence. And no matter how aware we are, evil is always lurking, waiting for an opportunity to infiltrate, whether in our personal lives or in the great events of the world. It is cunning, patient, and, above all, constant. What will we do to resist this invisible but very real presence that continues to work in the shadows? And the final truth that few dare to consider. Lucifer's plan, as old as his own fall, has not yet been fully revealed. The Book of Enoch leads us to an even deeper mystery. The true purpose behind the actions of the fallen angels was not just momentary destruction or the simple corruption of human souls. No, there is something much bigger at play. Lucifer's true plan is in progress, hidden, waiting for the right moment to be fully unleashed. Enoch suggests that Lucifer, even after being defeated and cast out of heaven, never gave up his desire to usurp God's creation. His ultimate goal is not just to corrupt souls, but to recreate the world in his own image, a distorted reflection of what God intended. He and his fallen followers worked tirelessly in the shadows, not only spreading chaos and destruction, but preparing the ground for something greater, something that could change the course of human history forever. This new layer of mystery leaves us uneasy. If Lucifer's plan is in motion, what else does he have in store? How are his unseen actions paving the way for a future in which darkness may indeed take control? What if everything we have seen so far, the wars, the disasters, the corruptions, are merely rehearsals for a decisive moment, an event yet to come? The Book of Enoch warns us that this spiritual battle is not simply a struggle between good and evil as we know it. There is a complex strategy at play, and Lucifer is a patient strategist. His true goal may be complete spiritual domination, something that transcends what we can see and understand. A future in which the forces of evil not only influence but completely dominate humanity. Enoch challenges us to prepare for this final battle. He warns us that Lucifer's true plan is yet to come, and that we must be alert, vigilant, and deeply anchored in faith to resist this growing darkness. The question now is not whether we are ready to face it, but whether we are able to recognize the signs before it is too late. This growing suspense leads us to a crucial point. What remains to be revealed? What are we failing to notice in our daily lives that could alert us to the movements of this greater plan? Enoch does not give us all the answers, but he does give us the key to see beyond the obvious, making us understand that the battle between light and darkness is far from over. And this brings us back to the original question: how might these invisible forces be shaping your life and decisions on a daily basis? If Lucifer's plan is underway, and if the seeds of evil were planted millennia ago, are we all, without even knowing it, following this plan? Think for a moment about the decisions you make. The ones that seem simple: what you consume, how you relate to others, what you pursue in life. Are these choices really your own? Or are they influenced by something greater, something unseen? The Book of Enoch suggests that these forces, though hidden, are subtle, infiltrating our routines, shaping our desires and ambitions. The spiritual battle described by Enoch does not manifest itself only in great historical events or epic conflicts. It is happening here, now, in your everyday life. Every decision you make may be influenced, guided by these forces that are silently at work all around you. The fallen watchers, the Nephilim, Lucifer, they all play a role in this grand plan, and their power is revealed not only in great wars and destruction, but in small temptations and deviations that seem insignificant at first but can have great consequences in the long run. This is the real battlefield. Enoch warns us that the fight is not just on some distant spiritual plane. It is here, in our minds, hearts, and souls. And each of us is part of this war, whether we realize it or not. The influence of evil can be hidden in something as simple as a decision to follow a seemingly harmless path that slowly leads us away from the light. This connection to each of our personal lives challenges us to reflect deeply. How can we ensure that our choices are not being manipulated? How can we resist these unseen forces that operate at such a deep level? The battle is daily, constant, and Enoch reminds us that if we are not vigilant, we may find ourselves following a path we did not consciously choose. The challenge now is to be alert. Every choice, every thought, every action counts. The Book of Enoch gives us the tools to perceive the subtlety of this spiritual influence, but it is up to each of us to resist and stand firm in the light, refusing to be molded by these forces that work in the shadows. And so, in the midst of this invisible battle, stories emerge of people who have faced the darkness head-on. Real stories of overcoming, of individuals who have felt the weight of these spiritual influences, but who, somehow, found the strength to resist, rise up and win. These stories are not mere legends or fables, they are living testimonies that the spiritual battle is as real as any physical war. Imagine a woman who, in her daily life, begins to realize that something is wrong. Small decisions that once seemed harmless begin to become traps. She feels a presence, an invisible shadow, that tries to guide her away from her faith, from her values. The temptations are subtle, almost imperceptible, but constant, a silent pressure, trying to divert her from her true mission. She begins to sense that there is something greater behind these influences, something that cannot be explained by chance alone. And so, in a moment of despair, she turns to her faith. She seeks refuge in her prayers, in her beliefs. And it is at that moment, when it seems that all is lost, that a greater force manifests itself. Through prayer and total surrender, she finds a power that strengthens and protects her. The invisible influences that once tormented her begin to dissipate. She discovers that even in the darkest situations, there is a greater light, a divine presence that never abandons her. Or think of a man who, for years, was consumed by ambition and the desire for power. He prospered in his work, but he felt that something was wrong. The decisions he made were increasingly driven by ego, by greed, and he began to realize that his choices were leading him down a dark path. It was then, when facing a personal crisis, that he realized that he had been manipulated, that his ambitions were being fueled by forces he barely understood. He, too, turned to his faith. And it was in this act of humility, of surrendering to the divine, that he found the peace he had been seeking. He realized that in order to resist the invisible influences, he needed to strengthen his connection with good, with what was pure and true. And little by little, he began to transform his life, making decisions that reflected the light, rather than the shadows that had previously surrounded him. These stories of resilience show us that, even though the battle is difficult, we are not alone. The Book of Enoch reminds us that even in the face of fallen forces, there is a much greater force at our side. Faith, prayer, resistance, these are our weapons against the invisible influences that try to lead us astray. And just as these people won their spiritual battles, each of us can also find our way to the light, if we are willing to fight with courage and determination. We are approaching the most crucial point in this journey, the moment when everything begins to make sense, but also the moment when the most challenging revelations come to light. So far, we have explored the hidden power of the fallen forces, the influence of the Watchers, the Nephilim, and Lucifer, and how these forces operate in our world in subtle and often unseen ways. But what is about to be revealed could change everything you think about the world around you. As we reflect on the stories of resilience and resistance, it is important to remember that spiritual warfare does not only happen in dramatic moments or moments of crisis. It is present in the small choices we make, in our daily thoughts, in the words we speak, and in the desires we cultivate. What follows is a call to continued spiritual vigilance. We are about to discover that the real battle is not fought in grand arenas or in epic clashes between angels and demons. No, it happens in the quiet, in the everyday, in the way you deal with your daily temptations and influences. You can feel the tension in the air, as if a greater truth is lurking, waiting to be revealed. Every time we face a temptation, a moral choice, a doubt about the right path, we are, in fact, on the battlefield. Spiritual victory is not a single glorious event, but a series of small, daily victories, built on faith, willpower, and divine protection. What we will discover next will take us to the heart of this battle. A climax that will reveal what is really at stake, and how each of us, even in the most ordinary situations, plays a vital role in this invisible war between good and evil. Brace yourself, because the outcome of this story is more profound and transformative than any of us could have imagined. We are about to enter the turning point, where the unseen forces reveal their true intentions, and where faith, more than ever, becomes our most powerful weapon. This is the time when we need more clarity, more focus, and more connection with the divine. Because what comes next may not only change the way you view the spiritual world, but also the way you live your life from now on. The real battle is not happening in the distant future, nor in some distant heavenly realm. It is here, now, all around you, and you may not even realize it. This is the moment when the pieces of the puzzle come together and the final revelation draws near. The Book of Enoch alerts us to this reality. The spiritual battle is fought in the decisions we make every day, in the interactions we have, in the temptations we face, and most importantly, in the choices we make. The great revelation is that the conflict between good and evil, between the divine forces and the fallen angels, is not an epic battle reserved only for heaven. It is a silent, unseen battle that is unfolding within each of us, every moment. While Lucifer and his followers work in the shadows, their influence is present in our fears, our insecurities, and in the times we turn away from faith and the light. Enoch teaches us that this battle is not merely symbolic. It is real, and it takes place deep within our souls. Every choice, no matter how simple it may seem, has greater implications. And it is here, on this internal battlefield, that the true climax of the story unfolds. Lucifer does not seek merely to corrupt the external world, he seeks to conquer the human heart. He wants spiritual chaos to spread, not through great cataclysms, but through the loss of our connection with the divine, through the slow erosion of our faith and our morals. And the most intense battle is the one that takes place within us, the moment we decide between light and darkness, between the path of virtue and that of temptation. At this climactic moment, the revelation is clear: the true spiritual war is not something distant and beyond our reach. It is happening now, as you hear these words, as you consider the choices you have made and the ones you will make. The battlefield is within each of us, and the invisible forces of both good and evil are fighting for our souls. And this is where you discover your role in this war. The great revelation is that you, with your faith and your daily choices, have the power to influence the outcome of this battle. The force of evil may be persistent, but the light is infinitely more powerful. Enoch reminds us that even in the face of fallen forces, those who remain steadfast in faith, truth, and justice are able to triumph. The climax of this journey is not only about the destruction of evil, but about the personal and spiritual victory that each of us can achieve. The battle is all around you, but the strength to win it is already within you. You just have to believe, resist, and follow the path of light, because in the end, good will always prevail. And now, having traversed the layers of mystery and revelation, we come to the theological conclusion of this journey. Enoch, as a prophet and witness to the spiritual events that have shaped human history, offers us not just a warning but a promise. He reveals to us that no matter how powerful the forces of evil, no matter how deep the influence of Lucifer and the fallen angels, there is a greater truth, a light that cannot be extinguished. At the heart of this truth are the biblical promises, the same ones that have been made since the beginning of time and that remain as powerful today as they were in Enoch's day. The battle between good and evil may seem endless, but God has always assured the ultimate victory for those who remain steadfast in their faith. Scripture tells us, over and over, that evil will be overcome, that light will triumph, and that the kingdom of God will be restored. Remember the words of Romans 16 verse 20, "And the God of peace will crush Satan under your feet shortly." This promise echoes the teachings of Enoch, that even when all seems lost, when the world seems plunged into darkness, the ultimate victory always belongs to those who follow the path of righteousness and faith. Enoch witnessed the heavenly battles. He saw the power of evil in action, but he also saw the redemptive power of God. He was taken to heaven, preserved from the fate of mortals, because his faith placed him in a unique position of communion with the divine. And this is the final message he leaves us: even in the midst of corruption and unseen influences, God is always present, offering redemption and protection to those who seek his light. The theological outcome of this story is clear: true victory lies not only in resisting evil, but in communion with God, in trusting his promises, and in following his teachings. Through faith, we are not only protected but strengthened to face whatever darkness may come. The Book of Enoch, though shrouded in mystery and dark revelations, reminds us of the most important truth, that good will always prevail, and that with God we can overcome any spiritual influence that tries to separate us from his love. Therefore, the spiritual journey we undertake does not end with the fear of evil, but with the hope of victory. Enoch showed us that while evil works in the shadows, God's light is eternal and triumphant. And this is the hope we must carry, knowing that with faith we are capable of facing any spiritual battle and emerging victorious. Now that the truth has been revealed and the theological conclusion has led us to hope and light, a crucial question remains: what can you do from now on? What is your role in this invisible but constant battle? The time has come to act, to take a firm and conscious stand. The Book of Enoch has shown us that evil works in the shadows, infiltrating our lives in subtle and persistent ways. But we also learn that the strength to resist these influences is within each of us. The first step is awareness, but the second, and most important, is action. Start by protecting yourself and your loved ones. Enoch teaches us that prayer is a powerful weapon in spiritual warfare. Dedicate time each day to strengthening your connection with God. Your words, your thoughts, your intentions have power. Do not underestimate the power of sincere prayer, for it is a shield against the unseen forces that seek to divert your soul. In addition, immerse yourself in the Scriptures. God's Word is a light in the midst of darkness, offering direction, wisdom, and protection. Study, reflect, and apply biblical teachings to your daily life. When temptation arises, when the world tries to divert your path, remember God's promises and use them as your anchor. Don't stop there. Examine the influences that surround you in your family. Where might evil be creeping in without you realizing it? Whether it's the entertainment you consume, the conversations you engage in, or the choices you make, be discerning about what is shaping your mind and actions. Be vigilant, as Enoch was, to detect the traps these spiritual forces may be placing in your path. And finally, share the light. Enoch did not keep the revelations to himself. He was a messenger of truth. Now that you have been exposed to these profound revelations, it is your duty to share this light with others. Encourage your friends, your family, and your community to awaken to these spiritual truths, to strengthen their faith, and to stand firm against unseen influences. The battle is constant, but with faith, prayer, and action, you can not only endure but triumph. Enoch showed us that by staying close to God, we can overcome any spiritual challenge the world throws our way. So now is the time to take action, to protect, strengthen, and spread the light, knowing that in the end, victory lies with those who stand firm in faith. Remember, you are not alone in this battle. What the Book of Enoch reveals to us is not only a warning about the dark forces at work in the world, but also a powerful reminder that good is infinitely stronger. The forces of evil may be persistent, but the power of God, manifested through faith and light, is invincible. As you walk this spiritual journey, take with you the assurance that no matter what darkness you may face, God's light will always shine brighter. When you feel tempted, when difficulties seem overwhelming, remember that there is a greater purpose at work. Enoch witnessed the greatness and glory of God firsthand, and he showed us that no matter how powerful the forces of evil are, they can never overcome God's plan. This invisible battle that we are all facing, whether in our daily lives or in the great events that shape history, has a pre-written outcome. The victory of good is assured to those who remain steadfast in their faith. But this victory is not just over external forces, it is an internal transformation, a spiritual growth that draws us closer to God and strengthens us for any challenge that may come. So as you move forward, do so with confidence. Reinforce your faith with practical actions. Pray, study, live according to God's teachings. Shed light on those around you, helping them see that while evil may be real and persistent, it will never have the last word. You are part of a great battle, but also part of a much greater divine plan in which justice, love, and truth will prevail. Remember that, like Enoch, you can walk with God. And in doing so, you will find not only protection, but peace and the assurance that light will always triumph over darkness. Now, take this truth with you, not just as knowledge, but as a call to live a life of faith, courage, and hope. The battle continues, but with God by your side, you can face any darkness. Because in the end, the light will always prevail.